There's number one. Here we go. All right. Good morning, rental group from Joint Base Lewis McChord. This is James Marszalek, the founder of Operation Red Dot. And today I've got Maya, our housing coordinator, with us today as well. Maya, welcome. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you, James.
It's good to have you here. I think today's topic is such an interesting one that you and I have both seen firsthand. And today we're going to be talking about scams and specifically rental scams here in the Joint Base Lewis McChord area. Listen, I cannot stress this enough. There are people out there, bad actors, that are going to try and take your money and run. And you need to be aware of the red flags because these guys are not sneaky. They're not very good at what they do as a whole. And if you look at any kind of ad or anything critically, you're going to see a lot of indications that something is wrong. And today, we're going to go over the specifics of what you should be looking for when you're looking for a rental here at Joint Base Lewis McChord and looking for those red flags that might indicate that you are talking to a scammer. And listen, I'd like to say, people don't fall for this. But I think, Maya, you can agree, we've both talked to people, active duty service members here in the JBLM area that go, we're desperate looking for a place to live because we just got scammed out of a security deposit or out of first month's rent, or sometimes both. These scammers can pull between $2,500 and $6,000 from people. And I think it's because, people are a little bit desperate to get into housing these days. And that makes you blind to some of the red flags that you should be seeing. So let's end that today. Let's not lose your hard-earned money trying to get into a rental. And again, we're just going to talk about some very basic things. Couple of admin notes. If you are looking for a rental from a reputable real estate company in the JBLM area, Operation Red Dot is a full-service property management company that has rentals available right now. Puyallup, Lacey, Tacoma. We've got them spread out all over the place. And we've got about 6 to 8 more coming up in the next 30 to 45 days. We're onboarding those guys as we speak. So if you're looking for a rental, go hit up operationreddot.com and click on the rentals tab. That's going to show you what we currently have available and what's coming up in the next 30 to 45 days or so. And even if you don't like any of those and you want to see other properties, we can help you with that too. That's what Maya is here to do, help connect you with rentals that are available in the market, whether we manage them or not. And to today's topic, if you think you're dealing with a scammer, we want to make sure that you're not getting hit. And so if you find a scam, send it to us. Let's talk about it. Let's make sure it's legit. There's a lot of tools that Maya and I have in the background to really help identify if this is a scam or not. So if you are not feeling good about something, or you got a gut feeling that something's off, believe that, trust that, and let's talk about that. So Maya, with that being said, let's kick this party off. Why don't you start us off with the presentation?
Definitely. Thank you, James. So I talk to a lot of people about scams. There are so many different variations going on right now, and it's not new. It's not just in our area. And I think this is information that anyone anywhere would be really good to know. But I did actually find one in our area to highlight at the end, which is kind of fun, but
nice.
We'll get into that. What is a rental scam? First of all, not all property managers or self-managed homeowners have good rental practices. That does not mean it's a scam. I've talked to a lot of people who think that, something fishy is going on. What is this person doing? And really, it's just, they don't know the rules. They don't know the laws. They're just trying to make a buck on their property, which is fine. That's legit. But that doesn't mean it's a scam. What we're talking about here is a fake listing with the intent to take your money or identity. And that's really the biggest issue is, like James said, they can take a lot of money from you, but also if you fill out that application, they've now got your social security number, your last known addresses. They can do a lot of damage with that. Just basic information that you have given. So be wary, be aware. Red flags to look for. If a property is priced too low for the area, that's an obvious red flag. If there's a price variance, you've got different prices listed in different places. You can talk to the person, or you can see the language or phrasing is off. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean look for people who have bad grammar and flag it. That just means that sometimes they'll be really excited about getting your money. And, background check is not needed, or don't contact me by phone, just through the Messenger app. And turns out they've got a fake account later. So definitely look up the information that's here. We've got, there's so many more red flags than this. James, do you know of any?
Yeah. And just real quick, I'd love to note, when we're talking about red flags, there's a certain sense of one thing is just a data point. What we're looking for is most scams that are in the JBLM area, and honestly across the country, are going to have a lot of these data points that all connect together. And so when you find one data point that is a red flag, so if I see that hey, this is way lower than all the rest of the other properties that I've seen for this type of property, that is an indication that you need to look at it more critically. If you're seeing a bunch of green flags and everything is connecting, there's less of a concern. But every red flag data point that you get should escalate your DEFCON level. And okay, now that's priced too low. Okay, now I need to go and look at some of these other things to verify and validate exactly what's going on. And the last note that I want to make on this before I hand it back, Maya, is the ability to do research into whether or not a rental is legit or not should take 2 to 5 minutes max. This is not something where you have to be a full licensed private investigator to find out if these guys are scammers. Most of the information that we're going to be using is public data. And so it's a mixture of looking at, is the person promoting this property the homeowner? And we can go look up the public records and see who the homeowner is. Now, that's not in itself an indication. They could be using a property manager or something else like that. But there's all these little things should all be data points for you to understand that a lot of little red flags are going to make up a big red flag and tell you that, hey, this may not be legitimate. So all these things are really little. I think, screenshot this right here, because if you're actively looking for a rental, this is a great bullet point list to start with. And Maya's right. This is not a all-inclusive list, but these are certainly, like, any one of these bullet points are good indications that you're not dealing with a legitimate listing, for sure.
For sure. And we can get into more of that with the example that I found. So being out of the country is on this list. And I don't mean that as a jab at anyone who is legitimately deployed or, PCSing out of town. There's a lot of scammers that'll say, I'm managing the property for a friend and they're out of the country right now, but they left me their keys. Huge red flag.
Yeah.
I hear about that one all the time. Or even there's some that are managed by an out-of-state manager, and they've got agents in the area who are showing agents for the property. That's not necessarily a red flag. There are legitimate companies that are like that, and I can, provide the information on which ones are legit and not. And I've also talked to people who were scammed because they thought they were talking to a property manager, and it was just someone who had the code to the house, which is also terrifying. So when you do find those, you can report them to the company that's listing it so they're aware. And that's also really helpful. So research you can do on the property. Google Street View is one of the fastest that people are familiar with. Again, I mentioned this in our last meeting on the 1st of the month, and I'm going to say it again. When you look at a Google Street View property on your mobile, it tells you the copyright date of the app, but it doesn't tell you the information you get on a desktop computer or laptop. On a desktop, you can go to the bottom corner of the screen and it'll show you what date that picture was taken for their website. So that is hugely important. If you don't have a desktop computer, go to the library. You can use free internet at almost every library. They'll give you an hour of free time. So definitely do your research. If the property is in new construction, you'll probably see a vacant lot, or woods. That's another fun one. But I have had people getting scammed that were out of state and they came here and the property they were supposed to be renting was a vacant lot, like parking lot. There was nothing there that was rentable. And of course they got ghosted by phone and it was untraceable. The line was disconnected. Even nobody could help. So police report in that case didn't help. They were just out of the money and the identity. So you can check and see if a property is listed somewhere else. You can go on Zillow real quick or Redfin real quick. Those are apps that property owners can use, property managers can use. AHRN is not necessarily a great choice. There's also apartments.com, not necessarily a great choice. There's a lot of websites where any user can post a property and say that they're managing or owning the property. So you definitely need to do some research, see if it's listed elsewhere as your first clue. You can also do a basic address search, see if something comes up in the news about it, or if something comes up anywhere else. You can do a public records search for the address. You can go to the Pierce County or Thurston County or Lewis County website and pull up who the actual property owner is. Sometimes it's owned by a company, sometimes it's owned by a private owner. It'll tell you what their mailing address is. If their mailing address is the house that they're living in, that you're looking at, then chances are they're not living somewhere else for you to be able to rent this property. So you can definitely do some double checking, do your due diligence on who owns the property and where their mailing address is. Again, if they have a PO box, then you can't really tell from that information, but you can have access to the property information as far as the square footage on the house, when it was last sold. Any transfer of ownership would be on the public records. So you can look at a bunch of information there. You can also, that's the parcel search. You can do previous sale pictures. I know Redfin has been really good about posting the last time this house sold. They show the pictures and they're saving that as public information, which is kind of fun. You can see any updates that have happened to the house. That's also just a really good habit to have, because that's your only way to tell if they've maintained the property or if they've recently flipped it. That can also have red flags as far as flippers don't always have people's best intent in mind. Landlord research. You can look at the account age of the person. Facebook, you can see how long they've had their account. Now on Facebook, you can go into their account. If they've got it blocked, if they've got it privately listed, then you won't get a lot of information off their page, and that's okay. But if they're a property manager or an agent, they generally have some public posts as far as properties that they're listing. The company they work for, things like that will be on their Facebook page. Also, hot pads is another one that I've seen a lot. At Zillow, they have verified account, they have age of the account listed there. So if they just open it, if they're new, this is a sign. Sometimes things happen. Sometimes you have to start a new account, but that's usually iffy. You can Google the agent. If they say they're a property manager, you can Google them. You can look up what company they work for. You can look in, James, what's some of the places that people can do research on agents?
Well, if they're a licensed agent, so all property managers, like legit property managers, have to be licensed here in the state of Washington. So going to the Department of Licensing and typing in that person's name is going to pull back that's probably the best place to go. You can also call the DOL and give them the name of the person and say, hey, you know, this person is claiming to be a licensed property manager, and I'm calling to validate that they are in fact licensed and in good standing with the state. And they'll give the answer. I think that's the easiest way to do it. Now, the problem with that is property managers are allowed to have assistants and people who are unlicensed that can be doing advertising and stuff like that. So again, this isn't a hard fast, like, oh, if the DOL says that person's not in the system, it doesn't automatically mean it's a scam. Again, we're looking to pull from multiple different sources, but I think Google, again, anybody who works for a property management company is going to have a profile on that company's website. And this is exactly why they do that, for validation. So when somebody's out there marketing, they can, validate it that yes, the person works here. I think Googling the agent is a good idea. Calling, if you believe that they're a licensed agent, the DOL is a perfect place to go. But also finding out where that person is claiming to work and calling the phone number that you find through Google and saying, hey, there's a person out here claiming to work for you. Does this person actually work for you? And of course, they're going to go, no, no, this person doesn't work here at all. Or yes, that person is an employee of this company. It's legit. I've made those calls multiple times, and sometimes they have no idea what I'm talking about. And other times they're like, oh yeah, that's Johnny. Johnny's he's a marketing guy. Yeah, he works back here, So I think Googling the name is always going to help. Like if nothing shows up, that's a red flag.
Yeah,
but if the
absolutely.
property management company shows up, then calling and validating that person, I think is probably the best way to go.
Yeah, and I also agree that if you find a listing anywhere, calling the property management company directly and then getting transferred to the person who is managing that account would be really more helpful than just calling the number they've got on the ad.
Oh yeah, always validate through the official site. Never, unless the numbers match.
Right.
That is a red flag. People who are spoofing the property manager or the agent. And so calling the number on the ad is going directly to the scammer. And so you want to validate the correct phone number and contact information through whatever the company profile through Google or their website says. That's going to be way better. Scammers are not going to go through the work to create an entire fake company and website. That would be some deep level stuff. I've never seen that before.
That'd be intense.
Scammers are lazy. At the end of the day, they are looking for the low hanging fruit, and they get it, and so they don't have to put in effort. So yeah, validating through the official channels is definitely the way to go. Same thing if you get a credit card thing, a fraud alert, like they tell you, call the number on the back of your card to validate this request. That mentality works here 100%.
Absolutely. So the next bullet point that we have is video chat. Scammers usually won't show you their face, where you can screenshot the information and send it to the police. So video chat, if they're open to it immediately and they're, willing to help out with a tour, or they're willing to, spend some time researching properties for you, that's obviously more likely to be legit than someone who is always off camera or doesn't have any information about the property, but definitely wants your money. Again, you can look at the legal owner via public records. So if someone's got a listing on Marketplace and you think it's legit and they're willing to video chat, but they don't want to disclose what the address is up front, you can do a public records search for properties that they've purchased in this county, and you can get the address from the title docs. So it's a little more difficult that way, but it is possible to find the address and find information about the owner. LLC search. If they say, I'm a property management company, give me your information, and you can't find anything about them online, that's not necessarily a red flag. Now, in the modern era, everyone's got a website, but there are some mom and pops that don't have a website, or not a very good website, and they want you to rent the house from them. Well, you can do an LLC search in public information on sos.wa.gov. You can look at their articles of incorporation. You can see who owns the company. You can see if this person is a legitimate representative of the company. Worst case, you can contact them after you find out more information about the company. Just Google what comes up. Now, this is kind of a fun one. Cyberbackgroundchecks.com is another option. You can look at a person's history. It's not 100%. I've had some experience with this being questionable, but you can look up people's phone numbers. You can look up addresses. Last known address is usually in there. And if the property matches the person and phone number and everything looks good, then you can pretty well tell that this is a legit property owner or property management person with legit access to the house. So some frequently asked questions. What if English isn't their primary language? This is one, like I said, going back to that slide about red flags. People who have English as their second language sometimes have grammar mistakes. They have typing errors all over the place. And that's not necessarily something to shy away from. What I mean is you can find out a lot of information about the property and the person by simply doing a video chat. That'll quickly clear up some of those red flags that you might have experienced from the wording on the listing. So can a self-tour be a scam? Some of them, yes. Not all of them, but like I said, I know someone that I've been working with who was scammed by a self-tour property management, and it was really kind of sketchy. It's scary for the property manager to know that somebody else is in their home too. So just be aware that just because it's one thing or another doesn't make it legit or a scam in either direction. They come out of nowhere.
Yeah, real quick on that, Maya. There
Yeah.
are companies now that instead of hiring, leasing agents and showing agents to actually go show the property, there are technologies that are in the property management world that allow them to put a digital keypad on the door and you sign up through their dashboard. But these are the easiest way to tell if a self tour is legitimate or not is what kind of process did you go through to get the information to get into the house. If it was somebody just messaging you the door code and saying, let me know what you think, it's probably a scam. If you had to go onto the property management website dashboard and upload your driver's license and input, specific personal information, that's required by their insurance company for this platform that they're doing. So that is, the pain that you have to go through or the information that you have to give is a very good indication of whether or not it's a scam. If you had to physically give, information, because scammers they want you in there as easy as possible so you can like the property and give them your money. They're trying to reduce the steps that you have to take to get to the money part. And so that in itself is a really good indication. So self-tours are becoming more popular. I am seeing more and more property management companies get on board with that. We are not. I don't like the self-tour deal, but some do. So it is out there, but I think that's just the thing to keep in mind is if you didn't give them any information and they just straight up gave you the code, like that's probably a scam, most likely.
Right? Yeah, definitely iffy. So what if they want cash? Now, I'm never a fan of giving cash for a property, but there is actually a property manager in my list that requires your deposit to be, or your application fee has to be in cash in person at their office. Now they're a legit property manager. I just don't know how they're doing business.
Yeah, that's
yeah, it's nuts.
wow.
So if someone says they want cash, it's rarely good. I'm not going to say never do cash, but it's rarely good. And make sure you do it in person. You can snap a picture of their face. You can get a digital receipt or a paper receipt if they're still in the stone era. Like it's a thing, but don't pay your landlord in cash for rent unless you're depositing it straight to their bank where you can get a receipt from the bank showing that you have made that deposit. James, is it money orders or cashier's checks? Like which one is more popular for legit?
Yeah, my policy is cash for nothing. That's not a good idea because we're dealing with a legal document, right? A lease is a legal document that requires you have to have a paper trail. And so when you're doing cash, the IRS can't consider that, right? And so it's very hard to create a paper trail. And so if you've got somebody insisting on cash, that in itself should be a massive red flag. Now, for an application fee, that just sounds like somebody who's stuck in the 90s to me, and they're not up on modern technology. And that's
they're probably going to fax you a copy.
They're probably going to fax receipts, right? And so that in itself should be a red flag because that doesn't sound like a fun thing to deal with. You're going to have to go out of your way to now drive to a place to validate these people. Now, as far as the application fee for our property management company that does that, at least you're going to go meet at an office that has their logo on the building and they have, they're probably legit, right? But Any other kind of cash? No, it should be money orders. It should be certified checks. It should be anything where you're handing in the cash to get a check or a vehicle and a financial instrument that can then be given to that person where you are going to get a receipt of some kind, whether that's from the money order or from the bank that shows, hey, we traded this cash in for whatever. Any landlord who's requiring cash for payments, that immediately should be a no. That immediately should be a red flag. I'm not saying they're scams, but I am saying that there is something else going on in the background that is probably going to be an issue.
Awesome.
So I say never cash, never cash across the board. I don't think, yeah, rarely good is, anybody asking for cash is up to no good in one way or another. So I don't think that's around with.
It's like 1% good.
Yeah. Yep.
So another question is, I backed out of applying and I didn't pay them. Am I safe? And the answer is, well, did you give them your social security number? Did you give them personal information that they can use? It's scary. What do you do if this happens? Report it to the FBI.
Yeah.
That's legit the route that you can take. And they have a whole scam department that you can work with to get your identity safe. Definitely call your banks and make sure that everything is on hold. It's an inconvenience, but that's what you need to do to protect yourself.
Real quick, I want to note that everybody has the ability to freeze your credit. And so if you call the 3 credit bureaus, Equifax, TransUnion, all of them, and you say, I want to freeze my credit, which means any pings, like nothing can go through. So if they're trying to open up credit cards or lines of credit or buy cars or whatever, they're going to hit a brick wall because you've basically shut the door to any inquiries, to anything. So what they're going to get back is a closed door, a closed and locked door. So I think that's a really good idea. And also important to note, like, I like your question of I backed out, but I didn't pay. Am I safe? We should be doing, the military has a rule of 90% preparation, 10% execution. You should not be giving money or any identifiable personal information like your social security number or pay stubs or anything like that before you validated that this person is legit. So you need to be going through all of these red flags and making sure that none of them exist before. This is where people get into trouble. They don't look for the red flags out the gate and they give the benefit of the doubt. And then they get halfway through, they've submitted the application, they've given some kind of fee. And now they're seeing the red flags all of a sudden because they were kind of ignoring it in the beginning. Doing this process immediately out the gate to do some very simple, again, 2 to 5 minutes worth of research could save you thousands and thousands of dollars. So it's worth doing all of this up front so you don't find yourself in one of those situations. It's like, oh, I got 60% of the way through this process and now I've identified it as a scam, but it's already too late. Once you've given your social security number, your identity is at risk. Guys, we are talking about $1 billion a year industry plus billions of dollars a year in identity theft and fraud and financial fraud across the board. And this is one of the funnels that they use to get it, is these fake scams for rentals. And there's a lot of different ways they do it, but this is a big one. We see it all the time. So, you have to be highly critical. You have to be situationally aware, and you need to have some kind of a protocol that will, again, take 2 to 5 minutes on the front end just to see, are there any major, like, glaring red flags that I might ignore if I weren't asking myself this question? It's worth it. And then you're absolutely correct. What do you do? You need to get the authorities involved. If you go, oh crap, I just got scammed, and then you move on, you're allowing the scammer to continue. The FBI is tracking scam information from all over the world, and your input into, hey, I got hit here by this person, and here's the evidence, is going to help the FBI catch these guys and get them out of commission, basically. So definitely. I certainly, if you get hit and you get deep enough to know that you've been scammed, collect all the communication, phone numbers, Facebook accounts, anything, any communication that you had with these guys, screenshot it, save it, and then go to the FBI's, you can just type in FBI scam, I think it's database or form or something like that. And then there's just a form that you fill out, you upload some documents, and they run with it. So, yeah.
Yep. Easy peasy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's inconvenient and not really that easy, but the
Yeah, right,
reporting process
right.
is not so bad.
Yeah.
So I was looking for some scams. I know we're about done with our 30-minute time limit that we said we'd be here, but
We're all good.
yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's good.
So I was shopping around, I was putting this presentation together and on June 18th, and I found this property that was significantly below the rest of the options on the screen. I mean, we've got 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom houses. There's a 2-bedroom for 1,900. And then there's this one for 3 beds for 845. Now, is that automatically a scam? No.
Pretty
There
close.
are
Pretty close.
well, it's something that if you're interested, you can look into it. But what I mean by this is some homeowners or even tenants that are trying to sublet their property, which is a whole different conversation.
Right.
They'll list their property on Facebook Marketplace and they'll say, hey, it's a 3-bed, 2.5-bath house, but we've got 1 room for rent in this house.
Yep.
And we are asking 845. So I have to give it the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to look further into it. So we've got this one, 3 beds, 2.5 bath. This is the one we're going to be looking at today. Now, over on the left of the screen, you can see the details that I pulled up from the listing. Of course, I put the date across it so we can be very clear that this property may not be listed anymore. And if you do see it, then please report it. Right. The address is something you can do a Google Street View, except, oh wait, on the right side, you can see I was going to drop my little handy dandy friend and he doesn't have that road available. So what can we do? Well, the unit details. We're going to look on county records. We're going to look for another property that has, or another website that has this house and double check the information. So we've got 3 beds, 2 baths, 1434 is the square footage. The ad shows the description over on the left says message me directly. It doesn't actually have a description for this listing. It doesn't say that it's a bedroom in a house that they'd like to rent out. It doesn't have any details about the property. So I looked at the seller's information because it's in Marketplace. It considers them a seller. They joined Facebook in 2023. So wait, they're new. Totally sketchy. I went to their Facebook page by clicking on their name here, and it didn't have any pictures uploaded. It didn't have any information, which again, if they have their account marked private, that could be fine. It could be someone who doesn't want the world looking in on their life, and that's okay. But then they've got these listings. So you click on seller details, and they've got 5 properties around the country at about the same price.
Yeah.
And they're all 3 to 4 beds. And I'm thinking this is kind of weird. So I looked it up on Zillow. And guess what? I found the properties $2,845. And when I looked at the pictures, I saw the pictures that they used in their ad are part of this listing. Yeah. Now, down in the bottom corner of the picture, you've got the watermark. But if you're a property manager or a homeowner trying to list your property, I highly recommend watermarking your entire screen. Put your phone number or your contact info, or, you know, this house is for rent by so-and-so, like put your name on it so that if anyone else is trying to grab your pictures by copy and pasting, that they won't be able to. Now, in the listing details, it says this home is managed by Main Street Renewal. Again, it's handy that Zillow puts that verified source with a check mark on it. And it's got the property website. You can visit their website and their phone number. So you can contact them directly through this if the information matched. That would be one good way of doing it, but I wanted to go a step further. Now, here is a screenshot from the Main Street Renewal website, and they are a company that is known for their units being scammed. They've even got a scam department. Mm-hmm. What caught my eye about this is that also, even on the Zillow listing, I can go back to that. Mm-hmm. If you look at the square footage of the property, it's 1,850. not 14 whatever. Now, sometimes you can have an error when you're posting a property. It happens to me, and I appreciate when people call me out like, hey, I went to this link and it wasn't what you said. I'm like, oh no. So mistakes happen. It's fine if there's a mistake or two, but when you just keep adding them up, like James said, a whole bunch of small red flags turn into a big red flag. Main Street Renewal has this scam link on the bottom of their website in the footer of their page because it's so common. So I went ahead and reported that one that was there. It doesn't take very long to get it done, but if you have any questions at all, you can always go to the property's site, pull up their phone number for the local people. Now this phone number here at the top, I've got 425-599-2830. Did it match? No, because this main phone number is for their headquarters that's in like Arizona or something. So it's not a big deal that the phone number doesn't match, but worst case, if you're curious about the property, if you're interested in renting it, go to their website, contact them through there, and that's the safest bet.
Yeah. And actually we follow that same protocol. So we have a headquarters line, but on my ads that I'm pushing out for our properties, it's got my personal cell phone on there because I'm the senior property manager. I want you to call me directly. Yeah, there it is. And so that's another thing, that the difference in phone numbers is actually less of a scam, especially when I noticed on the ad that the scam was on Facebook. It had no description whatsoever. It just said, message me directly. And I see these guys in the comments all the time too. They're not just posting the ads. These guys are also in the ISO posts where I'm a military family coming in going, I'm looking for a 3-bed, 2-bath under X amount of dollars. And they'll be in the comments because they slip into the group, by accident. And they're just saying, PM me. Anybody that says I'm a landlord that has a bunch of properties in the area and it's just super generic and not specific at all, 98% a scam, pretty much. And so, yeah, got to be cautious of the posts and in the comments. A lot of these guys just, they're throwing off red flags. And one other comment I wanted to make before we let go. I see a lot of the one that I see most prominently is you call them or they call you, or they'll send you a message and be like, hey, I'm on vacation right now, but I have the keys with me. If you just send me the money, I'll send you the keys. That's an immediate scam. Anybody you cannot verify face-to-face, either on Zoom or over the phone, but preferably in person, is most likely 98% of the time going to be a scam. And so if you hear that, the overarching idea here is, again, we're looking for these little red flags that should make you feel uneasy. And when you feel uneasy, you should become even more hypercritical and force them to validate themselves and verify their identity, because scammers aren't going to do that. And so if you get one step in with red flags and they're not willing to verify their identity, that's a pretty good indication that it's not real.
Yeah, for sure. So if you call the headquarters number under my name, that'll reach either me or James. I can always transfer anyone to James if you have questions directly for him, or any of our other agents. We can get you to the right place. And then you could also text that number. If you don't want to text my instant messenger, that's fine. You can just send a text to the main HQ phone number, also James's cell. He's happy to respond whenever he's available. The plus side is that I'm usually available. So we can figure it out. If you have a question or looking for a rental and you want to contact us directly for whatever reason, that's fine too. You don't have to go public in the group. We're happy to help identify scams and get you into safe housing.
Yeah. The big thing I want to close us out on is Operation Red Dot was literally built for one purpose and one purpose only. And that was for supporting affordable and accessible military housing at the bases that we operate at, and JBLM being one of the biggest ones. And so even if you're not going to be a client of ours, or you're not going to come into one of our rentals, like if you're affiliated to the military in any way, we are willing to help you with whatever you've got going on, whatever that looks like, even if it means it's not going to turn into something. Like, we view the military affiliation as just a higher level of support. I did 8 years in the Army. A lot of our crew is veterans or spouses. These are, you are our brothers and sisters, not just a client, right? And we hold ourselves to a much higher standard in there. So if you need help with anything, or just want advice or anything like that, come talk to us. We don't charge for consults. We don't charge for anything. So we're out here trying to help the military community get into housing. And it is a bit of a war out there. So Maya's right. If you have any questions whatsoever, hit us up. Let's talk about it, because we can help point you in the right direction. We can help point you to resources, even if it's going to another company or another property or anything like that. Like, we don't care. We want to make sure you get the solution that you need. So thanks for joining us today. And hopefully you learned that a little bit of due diligence at the very beginning is going to help you massively protect yourself, and most importantly, your hard-earned dollars. It hurts me so much when we get those calls that go, yeah, I just lost $3,500 on a scam. And then we start asking questions like, well, what did the messaging sound like? And where was it posted? And what did it look like? And we're like, there's like 80 red flags here that you should have caught. And they just didn't know what they didn't know. And so this class, I think, is so critically important, because it is so simple at the front end to identify a scam. Maya's example was such a, like, that's a common example. We see that kind of stuff all the time. And so when you see those little red flags, now hopefully you're going to take this information and be like, I'm not giving them my information, and definitely not giving them your money. So if you have any questions, let us know. But Maya, again, thank you for putting this presentation together. I thought it was great. And we're going to do this again. We find scams all the time. So we might come back on a live and break down some other stuff we're seeing. I think that'd be really fun, especially if we can engage with them and get them to start messaging and engaging back and forth. I love trolling scammers. That's one of my side hobbies that I just love doing. So hopefully we can get a couple of those going, and we can record the interactions, and we can all have a laugh on trolling somebody.
Fantastic. I should also note that if you have a comment in the group that looks scamish, definitely report it. Just let me know, send me a private message. That's fine. And just say, hey, this one I'm not so sure about. If you see a Zillow link in the comments, that I do go through and I check the properties, I check who the owner is, I message them directly, trying to find out what affiliation they have with this property. So if I let it stay, if the comment is still there after a couple days, then it's been checked. So I'll usually give it a thumbs up when it's legit. I'm happy to support any local homeowner that's trying to get their property filled. That's another thing we try and help with, is filling homes. We try and fill the properties. Let's get less vacancy in Tacoma.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
absolutely. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, y'all have a great day, and we hope to be talking to you soon. But otherwise, happy house hunting, and we'll see you on the next one.
All right. Thank you.